Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the stage. This is the first session, so very exciting. We're going to talk about IPO at Tokyo Stock Exchange, TSE. My name is Yang-An Cho, the founding partner of Andin Capital. We are a venture capital that has 50 portfolios across 6 countries in Asia. Personally, I have participated in IPO deals in New York, Taiwan, Shanghai, and Hong Kong as an investor and as well as a lawyer. So I'm very excited to meet the speakers today because they represent a holistic coverage of IPO process. So first, let me introduce Mr. Arai Keisuke, New Listing Department Director of Tokyo Stock Exchange, with decades of experience in IPO market in Japan as an official capacity. Then we have Mr. Stephen Chen, the President and the CEO of InfoRich, the biggest energy sharing economy platform in Asia. They successfully IPO'd in Tokyo Stock Exchange in 2022. And finally, we have Mr. Kashi Hiroki, Head of Equity Capital Market of SBI, one of the largest iBank and underwriter globally. They help hundreds of companies IPO'd in Japan in the past few years. So before we start, just a reminder, this session we won't have open stage Q&A time. So if you have questions to speakers, please reach out to them post-session. So without further ado, my first question is to Keisuke. Tokyo Stock Exchange is famous for being exchange and beyond the platform that provides a wide solutions to companies that seek capital in the market. So can you share with us what are some new policies recently TSE offers to company? Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Hello, my name is Keisuke Arai. I'm happy to meet you and talk to you. Thank you very much. I don't think everyone here is familiar with the TSE market, so let me explain a little bit about the Tokyo market. TSE has 3 market segments, standard for general companies and prime for blue chip companies, and growth market for growing companies, like InfoRich, right? And to list to the Tokyo Stock Exchange, companies need to pass underwriting examination by securities firm like Kashisan's SBI Securities, as well as the listing examination by the our regulation team, which is organizationally separated from my marketing department. The listing criteria consists of numerical criteria and substantial criteria. Assuming we are talking about growth market in the context of the startups, the numerical criteria includes having at least 500 shareholders, a minimum of 25% of floating shares, and the market cap of a float base is 500 million yen. And even companies that are operating at a loss also possible. Okay, so with regards to the substantial examination, it is a responsibility of your underwriting securities firm to assess your company's high growth potential, while our regulation team evaluates the rationality of the business plan and the effectiveness of the internal control system, and etc. So, in our marketing department, we provide consultation services such as explaining how the listing criteria is interpreted. Okay, so from your company's perspective, we can also assess in English if necessary. So, with regards to the updates, the growth market, the question to the answer to the question. Last year, 3 space ventures such as iSpace, QPS Research Institute, and Astroscale Holdings have listed, with Astroscale recently reaching a market cap over 100 billion yen on the listing day. To promote the listing of deep tech companies, the TSE has clarified examination points in its guidebook. Specifically, it sounds complicated, but let me show this. So specifically, if a company have received investments of 10 billion yen or more from institutional investors, and is expected to reach market capitalization 100 billion yen or more at the time of listing, our regulation team will ask the institutional investors why the evaluation became like that, and consider the response. It's a very good update, frankly speaking. And additionally, there have been cases where companies preparing for listing have abandoned M&A activities due to misconceptions that may hinder IPO examination. So to clarify to this, the TSE does not prohibit or discourage companies from engaging M&A activities for the purpose of listing examination. On this matter, we have published F&Qs. That's it. Yeah.
That is wonderful. Sounds like TSE has diversified the nature of company that is able to IPO and also ease the process to IPO. You also mentioned the underwriter in the process of doing an IPO. You know, investment banker and the underwriters are extremely important in IPO process. If a company comes to me and telling me that I'm going to IPO soon, the first question I usually ask is, which bank do you use? So it is actually very important. But for people not in the trade, I found that a lot of people don't know the function and the role of an underwriter in the IPO process because people don't usually have this kind of experience. So my next question is to Hiroki. So can you explain to us what is the role and the function of an underwriter in IPO process? Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you for introducing me. I'm Hiroki, SBS Securities. I'm a head of equity capital market in capital market division. In short, equity capital markets connects issuer to investor, or issuer or selling shareholder to investors in the primary business. And there is a sales activities, promotions, persons, and trading functions, but they are confronting with investors. We are in the deal team with you, issuers or shareholders. That's the difference. We are in the primary side and insider side. I'm engaged in this business for around 15 years, and I have experienced many deals. And for these 3 years, I experienced in the SBS Securities for involved in almost all IPOs in our lead manager underwriting deals. And important point to bankers or underwriter to issuer, I think the first is the trust between the company and underwriters, and they must be bullish on each other with respect on their business from our side, and in our underwriting capabilities and our capability or personality of the deal team. That is very important. And the role and function of underwriter or bankers. Generally speaking, I think it depends on the company's it depends on the firm, but I think generally bankers will support your equity story or valuation logic to deliver your value to investors. And our side, ECM or capital market side, connect issuer or a selling shareholder to the market. We involved in the valuation, of course, but we support the finance or marketing process during the IPO. So if you go larger, the marketing process is more complicated. We provide information meeting process before IPO session, IPO roadshow, and we provide we provide many chances for you to meet investors in roadshow, or afterwards I will talk about a recent trend in the IPO. Yeah.
Thank you. So underwriter not only help you to understand how to communicate with the officials from the Tokyo Stock Exchange, but they also help you to find potential investors to anchor your IPO and also explain a lot of ideas many CEOs of startups probably don't know until they reach this moment. I believe a lot of CEOs of startups are now in the audience, and they must be very interested in when to IPO and where to IPO. So, Stephen, you are a very successful entrepreneur. Can you share with us when and why? When did you decide to IPO and why Tokyo Stock Exchange?
So first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm kind of like talking in front of my parents. JPX is here. SBI covers me. EY is here. So I'm kind of a little bit nervous, but I hope I'm making the good comments here. So our company, InfoRich, we founded in 2015. And by that time, I was actually living in Hong Kong. So, you know, like as Yan is calling me Steven, I'm half Cantonese and half Japanese. So I was seeking the market because Hong Kong wasn't that bad by that time. It's not really good now, but and luckily by the time which we went IPO in Japan, actually Japan was in a good mood. So I think one thing I want to comment here is that it's really important to understand how the market situation in each country is that if you are considering. So I think there's a lot of like markets besides Japan, but of course like right now Japan is I think the hottest market for everyone. And so like another thing which I experienced is first of all, like as an entrepreneur, you want to dream big. So, before going IPO, you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna be like 1 billion or like 2 billion. Of course, it depends on your it depends on your business size. That's good to dream big. But at one time, at one point, probably like a year before IPO, you'll be smashed and be like, oh, this is not the valuation that I was thinking about. But I think because for me, for InfoRich, we faced a very unique timing. I think we're almost the last PSR going IPO as a company, but it was the trend was going to the PER. So one thing I wanted to advise in that sense is that keep your numbers and make the profit, and that proves everything. So, but on top of that, one thing I really like about the Japan market is that the valuation comparing, although you get smashed like everyone, but that's just a it's just a process for a startup. So everyone enjoy that, but that doesn't mean this only happens in Japan. Of course, if you see the other market valuation is way even lower than the Japan market valuation. So making the trust and also making the connection here really helps that to bring the words when you go before IPO. And so for us, we also wanted to buy the trust in Japan because for technology like us, so by the way, so these are the batteries that which we are doing in Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan. So we have like 80% of the market. But like if you want to boost up your name, you need people to actually represent you. So JPX is here, and SBI as well. All the security banks will also represent you. Like once you go IPO, so that is one really good important point to go IPO in Japan. But not only that, like to buy the trust in Japan, I think it was important for the techs. Because, like for example, our service started in China 2015. And then we basically just like copied it and then to bring it to Japan. So we need to find the niche of what is the difference. And so 3-year of process that which you need to go IPO in Japan, of course, is needed. But if you can go through that process, it's quite a trust all over the world. That to have like everyone to understand that you actually been through this like very detailed process to go JPX, to go IPO in the market, and I think that will gives a really good message if you go like do an IR after going IPO. and then to go abroad. Like people will be like, okay, you have been through this like all kind of like difficult process in Japan. Your company must be mature. So this will also help you. So I really, again, going back to the earlier conversation is that by that time I had a chance to think about considering going IPO in Hong Kong or either in Japan. But then the way I choose Japan is that, if you have that trust in Japan, especially tech side, if you bring out your message like globally, I think that will help you after all. So I'll maybe like stop there. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about your interaction with Tokyo Stock Exchange?
So fortunately, I think I'm the first Hong Kongese to go IPO in Japan. And that also brought, thank you for JPX. And I think it was quite rare to have to ring the bell 2 times in 2 weeks. So we went IPO in 2022, December. And after that, fortunately, and also appreciate JPX to welcome us to represent the cross-border company representing in Japan to ring the first bell in 2023. And I find out that like in Japan, stock exchange, there are quite international members also internally to support global IPOs in Japan as well. So that was quite a surprise. When we before ringing the bell, meeting the members in JPX, that's what I found. So yeah, 2023, we also had a mission really to keep on expanding in globally, not only in Japan. And JPX is ready to support that. Yeah.
So definitely IPO is a very critical moment. And I think everyone wants to IPO at some point of time. But is it really happily ever after you IPO'd?
Oh, 100% not. So don't even dream about that. But but it's a process, right? Just talking about myself, I was a musician when I was in the 20s. So it's like indies musician going major. It doesn't mean that if you sign Universal record, that's it. You have to keep on promoting yourself. So actually that process gave me a good experience. So just think about yourself. You're still not well known by the market. And if you go IPO, it's just represents basically going into the market and to have everyone to know about you. So I think the journey starts from there. So so this is something that I really also wanted to comment here is that we went IPO. I think it was in around 82 oku. So that was around 60 million US, maybe a little smaller, 55 million US. So it was, again, it was in a really difficult moment, talking about PSR and PER. But then I think one thing is that go when you can. Don't even think to maybe delay. This is one strong message that I really want to give to the entrepreneur, because timing is not there forever, and chance doesn't come always. So don't think that if you can delay or whatever. This is a strong message for me. But on top of that, so even though going, start going into the market around 55 million US, fortunately we're around 5 times right now. So what I want to say here is that after IPO is super important, because that's the time when markets start seeing what's happening in your company. So keep on improving, and then JPX will support. Well, and thank you for SBI, just covered us recently. So, all these supporter will know you better. And then with their reports, the market will know you better. So actually going IPO is just the first step. And the journey from there is more important than going IPO. But of course, before going IPO, it's good that you have the standard. After going IPO, that you're strong enough to actually play the game, play the IPO game. So the 3 years before that, just take it as a time to practice and also time to also learn how the market will react. And it's really important to also have the connection even 3 years before you go IPO with the underwriter, with the sponsors, and also understand the market from them So that you won't have a, like negative surprise for yourself once you go into the market, but then like understand the market before that so that you can ready for that. Yeah.
This is amazing because we don't really have a CEO of an listed company telling us first-person experience, because what he said may be interpreted by a lot of investors to predict the stock price. So I hope you didn't say anything that would affect that. Yes. So I'm going to take a little step back and maybe look at the bigger picture. So this question is for Hiroki. Can you share with us what are some trends you see in your own transactions about IPO at Tokyo Stock Exchange? You don't need to share anything confidential, but I don't mind.
Yeah, thank you. And we are now almost every day under negotiation with about many companies about stock price variations. And it's related to variations, partly. I think two important points in 2024. So topics now is now reached the historical high. I think today, so one of the factors is a strong retail commitment to Japanese market. In 2024, the government started a new NISA. So they broadened NISA, increased the NISA, and many investors coming to us, SBI, or Rakuten, or other securities, and lots of individual investors focuses on Japanese market, even in the IPO and after IPO. So I think that, for example, even the not so popular stock like biotech securities stock is now popping up like now. That's one major phenomenon in Japan. And second is direct communication from mainly from ECM side to fund managers to get the IOI, indication of the interest, or purchase commitment, or cornerstone investment. So in 1 or 2 years, recently, there will be maybe many institutional investors considers IOI or cornerstone investment in Japan IPOs to get more allocations. And before IPO, they study a company a lot, and they voluntarily meet unlisted company, and sometimes they reach to us, and we are interested in investing in companies. So please consider IOI process. And we directly communicate with some major institutional investors in Japan or international investors. That's a very changing trend from in Japan. The cornerstone process is a major in Europe or US or other regions, but recently Japanese investors are considering about the IOI. And I have some study sessions with domestic or international institutional investors about the IOI process, or example, or execution process. Yeah, that's the two major points. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is real meat. That means that if you try to IPO, definitely engage a qualified underwriter as soon as possible, because the underwriter will share with you what kind of adjustment you need to do in order to attract the anchor investors, and also probably position yourself to be more attractive to stock exchange as well. Hiroki mentioned about retail. Actually, I was talking to Hong Kong Stock Exchange. They are also targeting retail sector as well. So this question is for Keisuke. It's kind of tricky, but can you do a horizontal comparison? What is the advantage of a Tokyo Stock Exchange compared to other stock exchanges?
Very hard question, frankly speaking. But I don't want to sound arrogant, but TS is a common choice for listing, especially among Japanese companies. But we have to strive to ensure this situation remains unchanged in the future as well. But On the other hand, when it comes to the foreign companies, it has been very, very challenging. Once again, very, very challenging. So one commonly mentioned issue is that cost issues associated with the disclosure in Japanese language. The TSE perspective, from TSE's perspective, more than half of the trading in the growth market is conducted by Japanese individual investors. So the Japanese language is very important. This rule is not set by TSE, but by law. So it's difficult to change this. So this cost issue is very, very difficult to tackle, frankly speaking. So to address this, so we recently launched a TSE Asia Startup Hub in March of this year. Previously, our efforts to attract companies involved in the attract companies from Asian region is to reach the companies and coordinating the meetings between the companies and the brokers, so one by one. But within the startup hub, TSE partners securities firms, auditing firms, including E&Y, and listed companies as well. So we invite early stage Asian companies approximately 5 years before they desired listing time to participate in the startup hub and provide support for the growth and ultimately help them list on the TSE. So we are currently recruiting partners and continue to share information with you. Thank you.
So we should definitely start to Google startup hub now.
I do hope so. Next unicorn or something like that. But
Okay.
I'm now recruiting and the finding stage.
Okay, so the startup hub will provide resources from Tokyo Stock Exchange to help startup from all Asias to be prepared for IPO in Japan. Is that the case? Okay, that's great. Okay, so we talk about all the positive things, but I think a lot of CEO also want to know what they shouldn't do if they want to do IPO. So actually, these questions I want both Hiroki and Keisuke to answer. Can you share, in your experience, what are things if you see in a startup company, then you will probably say, no, you are probably not ready, or you should change this before you go IPO. Can we start with Keisuke?
I don't think it's not a good time. So I will recommend the IPO. So please ask him first.
Hiroki.
Yeah, okay, so talking about stock price and variations. As Mr. Akiyama said, investors shifted on PSO variation to PR or EV/EBITDA variation. So they all focuses on profitability of the company, listing company and unlisted company going to public. So please be careful about variation. And our advice is to don't be aggressive on unlisted variation. And there are maybe one type of cruises, latchet cruises, and that connect the dilution of the shares sometimes. And some companies are very struggling about higher variation in the unlisted phase. So don't be aggressive on variation. But yeah, if you need money, don't be hesitate. Don't hesitate to finance. But variation is very careful about seeing the potential IPO price. I think it's better right now. There is a gap on EV sales or PSO variation in unlisted market, and a PR or EBITDA variation or DCF variation in the aftermarket. Yeah, I think the exemption is biotech or currently Uju. Space companies, but I think it's not sustainable. So yeah, I think investors focus on the sustainable growth and a sustainable profitability right now. So yeah, I think, yeah, InfoRich's track record is a very good example after IPO.
Yeah, I think Steven mentioned about valuation issue as well. So just curious, Hiroki, is it difficult if you have a disagreement in terms of valuation with the CEO? Do you argue with him or you just give up? If you have disagreement about valuation.
So we are now directly connecting to the investors, and yeah, I can phone call with investors how much price and how much you can take. Yeah, we can easily, and I think almost all underwriters can do it right now this moment. So we cannot overprice the investor's price. So that may be a difference. So and yeah, if you don't convinced about variation in the issuer side, I think Mr. Akiyama's comments is very yeah, good, and chance is right now. So don't miss it. Yeah, there may be different and many problems, just not about the IP variations.
Okay.
Yeah, there may be many events. There may be many changes.
Yes.
Or governance problem, or projection track record problem,
Okay.
and environmental change. So I think if you can do IPO right now, I recommend you can push the button.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Steven, you want to add something?
Well, yeah. So like I think what everyone was mentioning is it's not easy, but it's you need well prepared. And one thing what Kashi-san actually mentioned just now, I would have if I tell myself before IPO, I will be like, because there's like two things that you have to do in parallel. One is your business, and one is like very financial. So as long as that you have a team, that's great. But if not, like it's also very important to have the CEO to understand the whole process of what your finance team is doing. Because I also have like friends, entrepreneurs, even in fundraising. I actually did like almost 80% of the fundraising myself, like connecting, talking with people. But there were friends which failed in fundraising by just pass it on to his like CFO. And later on he said, oh, I shouldn't pass it to the CFO. So like even in the IPO process, I think it's the same thing. To understand the whole procedure, like even 3 years before what you need to do is like very important so that you can be well prepared. And if you know what to prepare, and just like what Kashi-san said, like if you understand that, oh, SBI is calling investor and what of the timing that they're calling, and maybe is it a year ago, is it like a half year before IPO, understand all the schedule, what the sponsors, what the underwriters are doing, so that you can communicate with them earlier. So, we were very young before going IPO. We argued a lot with like EY by that time. But because like it's of course like positive argue that there was a lot of things that we weren't prepared. But then like, underwriter was expecting and sponsor was expecting. So, try to consensus the expectation, like control the expectation with your partners. And you have to clearly understand, without these partners, you cannot go IPO. So you have to be very friendly and also in a tight position with these like partners. And I think that's like super important.
Thank you. So, Keisuke?
My answer may not be direct, so I have to take extra care about this comment. But one topic about the IPO, it refers to a listing with a small market cap, which is called a small IPO issue, which can make it difficult for institutional investors to invest in the company, right? So it means which will result in the company's market cap remaining small. So someone have argued that we have to raise the criteria for the growth market. Is it a good thing or not? There are a lot of arguments here. So on this point, TS is very, very neutral, very neutral, right? So, but please keep this in mind. Even with a small listing, if a company consisting delivers good performance, the stock will rise, right? But there are many, and also there are many examples like this. However, one thing to note here is that if company goes public, it become a publicly traded companies. So as I said, disclosure or something like that, the serious dialogue with the shareholders and the investors, like that. So it may struggle to respond to these demands adequately, right? So as a result, it may be shunned by institutional investors and remain small. This is a mechanism. So therefore, it is important for companies to understand why they should do after listing in advance. So even in the early stage. So please keep this in mind.
Yeah, so definitely be careful about the valuation mindset. Set the right valuation before you go IPO. And even though the Tokyo Stock Exchange is very neutral, the compliance requirement is there. So before you IPO, you have to understand what kind of compliance you have to obey after IPO, so you can have a better life after it. So before we close, I would like to have each speakers to give a piece of advice to CEO of startups they try to IPO in the future. Can we start with Steven?
Sure. Thank you for today. I think please yourself. Please ask yourself, why do you want to go IPO? I think that's very important. As like Kashi-san also mentioned, if you don't have a sustainable growth, like maybe you go like 100%, 200% growth before IPO, it doesn't help after IPO. So just make sure that you have a long journey with your business, and not just like go an IPO and then that's it. But again, journey starts from there. So I think it's I want to say like question yourself. Why do you want to go IPO? That's like very important. If you have a longer vision, that makes a lot more reason and also gives you a lot more reason for you to go IPO. And I encourage, and also for myself, I'll love to run this business 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. So see a long-term view so that you can also focus on what you have to do right now. Yeah, thank you.
So Hiroki?
Yeah, thank you. Growth market has been struggling after 2022, after FRB rising the interest rates. But I think it's a little bit a sign of recovering right now. Topics reaches historical high, and Nikkei goes up to 40,000 yen. And gross index is a little bit recovering from the bottom. And investors are very ready for potential IPOs, and many, waiting for good names, good companies. And there is a lot of opportunities for issuer or shareholders to list on Tokyo Stock Exchange. And SBI, yes, that's a little bit advertising. SBI,
No problem.
yeah. SBI dominates half of the individual flows in current Japanese market. Half. Yeah, half of individual is going through SBI securities. And retail power is very, very strong.
Yes.
I think I say trust is very important. So when I phone call with investors, so how about 100 million yen? No. It's around up to 80 million yen. No. Wait. if that level, the CEO will pull the deal. Please, how about 19? Yeah, that's a process. So that's a very human process with investor communication. So I think that it's based on the trust with underwriters. and issuers. Yeah, on Libis is the same. So I think trust is important for choosing and going to public in the process. So yeah, market is very hot, and trust is very important.
I see.
And SBI is very in a good position
Yes.
for Japan IPO.
Yes. Thank you. So, Keisuke?
Very simple answer, very simple comment. Due to lack of our efforts, so I may sound self-deprecating, but you may not be aware of about the TSE. So if you have interest in the IPOs and listing in the Tokyo Stock Exchange, TSE is a very user-friendly market, so please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So I think IPO is, as Steven mentioned, just a starting point for even longer journey in the future. But it is definitely the most exciting point. For that exciting point, I think the CEO of a startup, they are already very busy operating, finding money, a lot of things. So they need external help for this critical moment. So for any CEO of startups who try to IPO, definitely they need someone who have done the process, talk to them. Someone who will guide them through the whole process, an underwriter like Hiroki. And definitely, eventually you have to have a direct communicate with Tokyo Stock Exchange if you want to IPO here. But I want to remind you too, the investors are also very important. When you do fundraising, you need to carefully arrange the composition of your investors. Try to find investors who can help you to reach out to these persons. And so they will be able to help you all the way from the very early stage till IPO. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.